now. So again, in case anyone watching this on YouTube or later, my name's Raheel. I was on MasterChef UK in 2020. And since then, I've started my company called the Cookalong Company. I essentially do online cooking sessions like this. So I do private sessions, group sessions, things for charity, fundraising. Obviously, you'll all know now, since December of last year, I've been raising funds for medical aid for Palestinians. Of course, we know what atrocities are taking place and they're not going away at all, which is a real travesty. And between the group of people who have joined these Cookalongs so far, we've raised just over £18,500, which is phenomenal. And that's all gone to medical aid for Palestinians for the great work they're doing on the ground there. Unfortunately, we don't have anybody from MAP be able to join us this evening, and we don't have any guest speakers or anything like that. So we're not going to delve too much into what's happening right out there at the moment, because I don't have that current view from anyone who's out there presently. Obviously, you'll appreciate that given the escalation of activities, it's really difficult to understand exactly what's happening and to get people to be able to join us for these things where they've got other pressing things, I guess, to be dealing with. So, yeah, but as I say, most of you have been joining right since the start. Some of you even before then. I've been doing these Cookalongs since 2021, and I've done probably over 100 now. So the way we work today is I will talk you through the recipe. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to stop me. We'll recap. I will recap a number of times anyway and let you know what needs to go into each element of this dish. So today we're going to be making falafel bowls. So essentially a bit like a poke bowl, really. So falafel with lots of sides. So some tabbouleh, which is made with bulgur wheat. I'll talk about that in a little while, which is a grain. We're going to make some homemade hummus. If any of you have never made that before, that will be really exciting, I think, for you to be able to try that. And then some other sides that will go with that. Okay. So let me just take the camera down here for a minute, and let's get started with the first thing, which is going to be the bulgur wheat or tabbouleh. Just a quick note on that before we get started. So there's a packet of bulgur wheat, and that's the one I've got there. You could use quinoa for this if you wanted to. It's very similar to couscous, so you could use couscous instead too. Tabbouleh, though, traditionally is made with bulgur wheat. Okay, so essentially, that's what we're going to use. It's a traditional grain to use. But as I say, if you have a preference, you can use other types as well. So what I'll do then is just put the camera down here on the counter so you can see what's going on. There's all my ingredients. Okay, so what we've got here then, if I can just maneuver the camera down ever so slightly, just bear with me. Second, let me just get this camera right, and then we'll be able to see what's going on. Okay, is that better, everybody? Can you see that okay now? Can you see that all right, everyone? Great. So in this pot then, I have got 2 glasses of tap water just coming to a rolling boil, which is boiled now. So I'm now going to turn the heat off under that. And in this cup, I've got 2/3 of the bulgur wheat. And that's just going to go straight into the boiled water, like so. Obviously taking out any extra bits which is stuck to the bottom of the mug. Here we go. To get all that in there. Like so. We're then going to give that a bit of a stir just to mix it in with the water. And we're now going to put that to one side. That's as much cooking as you need to do, believe it or not, for the bulgur wheat. So what we'll do now then is we will place either a lid, I don't have a lid for this particular pan, or a plate, anything like that. We're just going to cover that. We've got the heat turned off there. Okay, so there's no heat under that pan. And we're going to leave that for about 20 to 30 minutes just to see how it comes along. And by which time it should be nicely cooked. Okay. We've had a question already in terms of how many falafels this recipe makes. So this recipe, depending on how big you make the falafels, will make approximately 16 to 20 falafel balls. Okay. So it really depends on how much of an appetite you have as to how many people this will serve. Okay. So let's just bring this up here again. This camera's playing around today. There we go. Okay, great. So we've got the bulgur wheat, which is now cooking away. That will take about 20 minutes. We'll then fluff that through with a fork. And then when that's cooled down somewhat, we'll then essentially add all the ingredients into a large bowl with the bulgur wheat, and that will be our tabbouleh made. Really nice and fragrant, really nice and fresh. Let me just check. There's no further questions. No, there isn't. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move on to making the falafels themselves. Okay. So whilst we're just, some of you are just doing maybe the bulgur wheat and maybe some final prep, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the process for this. Not everybody's got their camera turned on, which is fine. But for those of you who have got the camera on, and for those of you who don't, you can use the emojis just to let me know by way of raising your hand. Is everyone okay for me to move on now to the falafel? Has everyone managed to boil that water, get the bulgur wheat in? Yeah, fantastic. Okay. So what I've got in here then, if I just move the camera back down onto the counter. Camera's been really silly today. Apologies, just bear with me. Hang on. I'm just going to put the camera off for a second just so I can get this right. Just bear with me. Right, hopefully I've got that now. Correct. Okay, so in here then, this is the first part of the recipe for the falafel. In here then, in a large bowl overnight, I've now transferred it to a container just so that I could get it in the fridge easier. I had 1 cup of dried chickpeas soaking in enough water to cover the chickpeas by about 2 to 3 inches. Now, for those, you can use tinned chickpeas for this. That's no problem at all. But traditionally, and the best result you'll get is if you use dried chickpeas. There is a huge difference in flavor, and really the only way to appreciate that is to try it. Just raise your hand if you've been able to get the dried chickpeas and if that's what you're using today. Great. And what you'll see is that if you've got any in the packet still, they've at least doubled in size from what they were previously. And if you press them, they'll just kind of crush and they won't be completely soft, but they'll certainly be softer than when they came out of the bag. Okay. So the idea of soaking them overnight is for them to swell, is to soak up that water and to start to soften so they're easier to cook. Now, normally, if you were making these as a curry, you would then boil them in a pan with a bit of baking bicarbonate of soda just to get them really nice and softened before you added it to any curry base or sauce. But because we're going to add this into a food processor with all the other ingredients and blitz it up and then fry them, of course, it doesn't matter if they're hard at this stage because they're going to be crumbled right down and then fried and cooked. So what I'd like you to do then is discard the water that the chickpeas are sitting in, and we want just the chickpeas. So I'm just going to do that quickly. Okay, so what we're going to do then in a blender or a food processor, depending on what it is that you have available to yourself. Can I just ask, can everyone see okay? Can you see okay what I'm doing here? Is that all right, everybody? Just give me a thumbs up if you can see what I'm doing clearly. Great.
We can see, but the voice keeps freezing.
Ah, okay. Let me just check that again. Is that any better? Can you hear me now, everyone? Yeah, okay. Just do let me know if I cut in and out. Sometimes the internet can be a little bit unstable if there's quite a few people online. So what I'm going to do into this blender is I'm going to add all of those dried chickpeas. They're going to go that have been soaking. So all of those into your blender. As I say, you can use a food processor or a blender for this. Essentially, what we need to do is create our falafel mixture. So hopefully you've got the recipe in front of you with quantities, but I will go through those quantities anyway. So we've got in here the chickpeas. You see that all right? I'm also going to add into there, so 1 onion that I've just got roughly chopped. So that can go into there too. One green chili. Now you can leave this out if you wish. That's a massive chili I'm choosing today, so quite a bit of spice. It won't be too spicy, but it'll give a nice little background kick to it. So I'm just going to kind of snap that in half or thirds maybe, and just pop that into the pan too. I will recap all of this shortly. 3 garlic cloves. So they're peeled. I'm just going to give them maybe just cut them into quarters or into halves, just to make them a little bit smaller, so they're easier to process when we put them in the blender or the food processor. Okay, so they go in there too. I'm also going to add into here a good cupful or a small handful, and this is a mixture of parsley, flat leaf parsley, and coriander. Okay, so it's flat leaf parsley and coriander, just kind of roughly chopped. It doesn't have to be really finely chopped or anything like that. And that can go into there, and that's what's going to give our falafel that characteristic color, green color when you break into them once they've been fried. Really flavoursome ingredients going in here. Let's break that all in. There we go. That's the coriander and the parsley. I noted that because the recipe I'm following is actually from an American author, or it's been Americanized, and therefore it said cilantro, but hopefully you worked that out that that was the coriander. So we've got the coriander. Normally I would convert it into English, but I've just forgotten that particular one. And then we're going to add some spices in here. So first thing, we'll add a teaspoon of salt. So a teaspoon of salt goes in. We're going to add a teaspoon of cumin powder. Heat teaspoon can go in there. And we're going to add in approximately 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. I say approximately because I'm just going to grind it out this pepper mill. So let's do that. So maybe like sort of 10 or 15 turns. Okay. There we go. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to give this a bit of a blend. All right. So before we do that, I'm just going to recap. So we had 1 cup of dried chickpeas that had been soaked overnight with the water drained, 1 chopped onion, a handful or a cup each, roughly, of chopped parsley and chopped coriander. I've put in a green chili. You can leave that out, it's optional. 3 garlic cloves, again, just cut up roughly. And then we've added a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of cumin powder, and about 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. Now we're going to add the chickpea flour and the baking bicarbonate of soda shortly. All right, so we don't need that just yet. So I'm just going to go on mute whilst I just go and pulse this in the food processor. Now, obviously, you're not looking for a very fine paste. Okay, it's going to resemble kind of coarse sand. Is probably the best way to describe it. So if you want to just pulse that in the food processor, and then I'll be back with you shortly. I'll leave the video on, but I'm just going to go on mute so that it doesn't really make a lot of noise. Sorry, everybody, just bear with me. I was using a blender, but my blender isn't working very well at the moment. So I'm just going to transfer it to a food processor and do it that way. So just bear with me. I'll be back with you shortly. Okay, everyone, sorry about that. That took me a little longer than I thought it was going to take me. Transferring things over to a food processor rather than a blender. So hopefully what you can see, you've got some nice coarse texture there. Everything mixed nicely together. Can you see that all right? And what we're going to do now is we're going to add that in, remove that into a bowl. And in the bowl, we're then going to add in the chickpea flour and the bicarbonate of soda. So you want to add in 2 tablespoons of chickpea flour and half a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda. Then we're going to stir that together and then cover it with a lid and refrigerate it. All right. So transfer it to a large bowl. Okay, so we've got that here then now in that bowl. Move that over. And into that bowl now, I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda. Mix that in. And 2 tablespoons of gram flour, also known as chickpea flour. Now, there's different brands you can utilize. So this is just one of those. Hopefully, it's more of a finer powder. If you've got one that's a little bit more coarse, then you can just break it in a separate bowl with the back of your spoon first, just to get rid of the crumbs, and then add it in. And now what we're going to do is just mix everything together. And what the chickpea flour will do is act as a binding agent as well. And what the bicarbonate of soda will do is that when you come to fry them, it will allow them just to kind of pop up a little bit more, help them to fry, basically. It'll also help them to bake if that's what you want to do. All right. So there you go. So that's the kind of mixture you're looking for. Now what we want to do is just cover it with some cling film or a lid if you've done it in a bowl, and then into the fridge just to sort of refrigerate so that they're easier to fry and they hold their shape better. So we're going to refrigerate those for about 15-20 minutes. So let's do that. Okay, that goes in the fridge. I can find space. Okay, so hopefully you're all still there. Sorry, lots of moving around with this one today, getting from one place to the next, trying to get everything processed together. So does anyone have any questions at this stage at all in terms of what we've done for the falafel or what we're about to do with the bulgur wheat? Any questions at all? Feel free to come off mute or type it into the chat function and I will take a look if there's any questions. Would anyone like to show me how your mixture is looking? That would be great to see. If anyone wants to show me what it looks like once it's in the bowl before it goes in the fridge, that would be awesome. Just to see what sort of color and consistency you've got on that. If you've already popped it in the fridge, don't worry, don't feel about... Ah, there we go. The name I can see is Mike, but that looks great. Fantastic. Really good job there. Yes, Muji, that looks great as well. Lovely. So yeah, looking like a really good, nice color on there. Brilliant. Ah, yes, Joe, don't worry, I will recap. I know that some people are just struggling with the food processor. So let me just recap then what we did on that particular recipe. So we started off by adding a cup of drained chickpeas that you soaked overnight, discard the water into the food processor. And then into that, we're adding essentially all of the ingredients except for the chickpea flour and the bicarbonate of soda, all right, which you're going to add in at the end. So all the other ingredients on the list, so the chopped onion, the chopped parsley and coriander, the green chili if you're using it, and the 3 garlic cloves. Then we added in a teaspoon each of cumin powder, salt, and then about 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. And basically just whiz that in the food processor until it looks like a coarse sand, basically. Then we popped it in the bowl, added in 2 tablespoons of chickpea flour and 1/4 teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, give them that a stir, and then cover it with cling film into the fridge. Great. Hopefully that's okay. I know I've recapped that very quickly, but if you follow the recipe, i.e. the list of ingredients, essentially everything goes in the food processor except for the chickpea flour and the bicarbonate of soda. So let's just have a look. Question from Kate. I have mixed my chickpeas up. Can I use the soaked ones for hummus or best to open a tin? Yeah, it's best to open a tin now, Katie, if that's okay, because you would need the chickpeas to be really nice and soft, in which case you would have to boil them and soften them and then use them for the hummus. So If you've done that by mistake and you've used them in the falafel, that's fine for the falafel. But for the hummus, you're going to need to open the can of chickpeas. Hopefully you've got another one to hand. All right, so what I'm going to do then, I'm just going to put the camera back down here on the counter. Sorry, this is just now playing silly buggers, this cursor on my computer. Okay, and then we'll take a look at what's happening with the bulgur wheat. So let's just have a look at that. So you'll remember in this pan, we had 2 cups of water, brought it to a boil, and then we added in 2/3 of a cup of bulgur wheat. Now, if I just run my fork through there, what you'll see is that soaked up almost all of the water. All right, you can see there's still a little bit of water at the bottom there. So what I'm going to do, and the best way to see if it's cooked or not, is just to take a few grains, just try them. They actually taste cooked, to be honest. But because there's a little bit more water in there, I'm just going to leave it for a few more minutes. And if we do have to drain that water off, we can do. There won't be much flavour in that bulgur wheat right now, apart from the natural flavour that it has, because we're going to add all the flavourings in when it goes into the bowl to make the tabbouleh. So whilst we're waiting for that then, let me take you through the ingredients for the hummus, so we can have that ready. So for the hummus, you need 1 tin of chickpeas, and this is just a canned tin of chickpeas. Now, top tip here, once you take them out into a bowl, if you just put a bit of water in there, and then just, if you can, peel away the skin that is on each of those individual chickpeas. Now, that's what it looks like. Obviously, that would take you ages to do that with every single one. So don't worry about taking every bit of skin off every chickpea. But the more you can take off, the smoother your hummus will turn out. So if you put all the skins in, it will never be as silky smooth as if you take these skins off. So it's worth taking a few minutes just to fill that with water, and just with your fingers, just peel off the skins. To be honest with you, it might even come off without any water. Ooh, pop one away. Without any water. But it just makes it a little bit easier if you use a bit of water as well. So let's just do that quickly. So if you see that, so that's that bowl. Move it over a little bit. And I'm just going to, with my fingers, just rough and ready. It doesn't have to take ages to do this. It's always good to just have a bowl separately. And I'm just discarding those skins. All right. So just take a couple of minutes just to kind of sift through, and as many of those as you can be bothered, quite frankly, to take out, is going to make your hummus all that smoother. All right, I do appreciate that's a really tedious task, but it will be worth it in terms of the quality you get of the hummus that comes out at the end. So next time you're doing this, you can leave these to soak for a little while prior to cooking, and then if you've got any kids around the house or grandkids or anything like that, or partner who's willing to do this for you, if you can't be bothered, then just get them to peel these for you and give you a hand. All right, so just doing that. And obviously, I'm not going to go through and take off every skin, skin off every chickpea. That would just take ages. So let's just do this. They've got a fair few out there already. Look, if you have a look, it doesn't take long to take quite a few of them off. To be honest, what would be a lot easier and more sensible is if as I take them out of that bowl, instead of putting them back in, is transferring them to another mug or something, just so that I'm not going over the same ones over and over again. Put that in there. All right, let's do it that way. There we go. Look, you see. And what you could do as well is just put them between your palms of your hands and just rub them like that. Skins will come off a little bit easier, and then just pop them into the mug. That's another good way of doing it. Just gently rubbing them. You don't want to crush them, although we're going to blend them anyway. But just rub them together enough just to get most of those skins off those chickpeas, like so. Whilst we're just doing this, again, if anyone's got any questions, feel free to come off mute and just ask away. This is one of those recipes where it's more kind of compiling and explaining the different steps. So You know, we're not frying loads of onions and taking ages doing that. So we've got an opportunity for you to ask some questions if you like. And it doesn't have to be about this recipe. If you've got any questions about anything else, then feel free to ask away. So you'll see I'm just being quite rough and ready with it, really. I'm not being too bothered and obsessive about which ones have got skins on still and which ones haven't, but just this will make a big difference in terms of the silky smooth outcome of your chickpeas. Now, the other thing I should just mention at this point is that in the recipe, you notice that I've written 2 to 3 ice cubes. The reason for the ice cubes is that the ice cubes, again, give your hummus a really nice, silky, smooth finish. Now, I'm not entirely sure the science behind that. I'm sure there is some science behind it. But what I do know is it works. But if you don't have ice cubes, or if you're worried that your food processor won't handle blitzing ice cubes in it, then you can use some really cold water. That would also work. Ideally freezing. So even if you've got ice cubes, if you were to take them out shortly and just put them into a glass or something, just for them to melt a little bit, then they won't, you know, potentially cause you any problems when you come to blitz them. All right. So nearly there with these. I'm not going to do many more. Like I said, I'm going to do most of them, but not all of them. There you go. Right, drain off the rest of that water. There we go. So that'll do me. Just quickly washing my hands.
Oh, excuse me, Raheel.
Hi.
I have, because I live in Canada, I want to make sure that I have, this is what I did. This is the can I have. It's 796 ml or 28 ounce liquid. What's the size of your can?
So ours are 400 grams. So it's a completely different measure. Just give me a second. I'll have a look on here. So what did you say? Ounces. So let me just do a quick conversion. People may know. Just bear with me.
Actually, it won't work because this is fluid ounce. So it's 796 mil. It's okay. Now that I know, I will weigh my chickpeas.
Okay, just bear with me.
Sure.
So you've got it in flow ounces.
Yes.
And how many did you say you've got?
28.
28. So that's double. So 14 flow ounces is 400 grams. So basically you want to use half.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. Okay, everyone. So let's get on to making the hummus then, if that's okay. So for this then, this time you can. Yeah. Yeah, Giovanna's saying, I'm pleased I'm not the only one taking the peel off the chickpeas. What did he say? I find that if you do it, when they are lukewarm, the peel comes off even easier. There we go. Also the canned ones. Thank you for that, Giovanna. That's a great top tip. Okay, so let me just get back to my recipe here. So for the hummus then, we're going to pop the chickpeas. Let's put the camera down here again. So we've got the chickpeas. They are going to go into a blender this time. Okay, like so. So they're into the blender. We're going to add into that blender. Bear with me, sorry. There we go. So into that blender, we're going to add some lemon juice. All right. So lemon juice as per the recipe. So about 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. That I'm doing sort of 1 large lemon. And I'm just catching the seeds or the pips. So I'm just squeezing it through my fingertips, or my fingers rather. And I'm just catching the seeds. Can you see? just there, so they don't go into the blender. Now, once you've made it, next time you make it, hopefully, you know, you can adjust that lemon, add more, add less, depending on how you find this particular recipe. Okay, wash my hands quickly. Okay, so into there then, we've got so far a can of drained cooked chickpeas, which I've peeled off the skins of many as I could be bothered, quite frankly. 3 tablespoons of lemon juice has gone in there. I'm going to now add in 2 tablespoons of tahini paste, okay? Now let's just talk about tahini paste for a minute. So this is brown tahini. Now, the only difference between brown tahini and probably the kind of regular tahini you've got is that brown tahini are the unhulled sesame seeds. So technically speaking, this is a little bit healthier, but it will taste a little bit more bitter. And these have also been roasted a little bit as well. So a little bit more depth of flavor. So next time, if you want to, you can try brown tahini, but regular tahini is fine. And we're just going to add in 2 tablespoons of the paste into the chickpeas in the blender. There we go. Don't worry, I've not forgotten about the bulgur wheat. It's not going to overcook because the heat's off, so we can leave that there sitting there until we're ready, so it's not a problem. Okay. So that's your tahini paste. I will recap this as always. We're also going to add into there 2 garlic cloves. And again, just quarter them, halve them, just roughly chop them, however you want to do that. So let's do this. You can add more garlic if you really like garlic, it's not a problem. And then half a teaspoon of salt. We must season it. And then really the ice cubes. So what we're going to do before we go any further, before we add in the ice cubes, we're now going to blend this and try and get a really nice smooth hummus. Okay. So I'm just going to grab the ice cube. Good. Okay, so let's give that a blend. And then once you've blended that, I'll show you what it's going to look like. And then we'll add some ice cubes as well. Okay, now do keep persisting with that hummus. And what I'd advise you to do in between is just to scrape down the sides. All right. So scrape down the sides just to make sure that you can mix that properly as you're going. All right. If you need to add a little bit of water as you're going, then you can do just whilst it's blending. Not too much, just a little bit. Now, I'll just show you what mine's looking like. So as you can see, it's only partly mixed up. So what I need to do is I need to give that a really good mix through. So any of the bits that are stuck around the blades just come away a little bit. And then what I'm doing is I'm adding in a little bit of water, not too much, just a bit at a time, just until such time that it's nicely mixed through. Apologies, I realized I had the video on them when I was blending, so apologies for the noise. So I'm just going to continue with that just for a couple more minutes. So that's how it's looking now. So I don't know if you can see that. If I just bring that out a little bit, so you can see that it's looking a lot smoother now. There's still a few little bits in there that's still a little bit chunky. So what you need to do at this point is if you can add your ice cubes, that will allow it to go a little bit smoother. Or you can add really cold, freezing, chilled water if your blender won't take ice cubes. So try that for me. And let's just keep blending it for a little while longer. Okay, everyone. So apologies for that. It takes a while, doesn't it, to get that blended. It does take a few minutes to get it to the right consistency. So what we're going to do is we're going to finish that off by popping it into the plate. So if you just take a plate and then just scoop out that hummus, and it should be really nice and smooth, actually. I mean, if you keep blending it, it'll just get smoother and smoother. But as you can see, I've got pretty smooth consistency there. I'm pretty happy with that. Oh, chunk of a bit of ice cube that didn't get blended properly there. And I'm going to scrape out as much of that as I can. And then we'll finish it off by adding all the other bits to it. Okay. So you've got a good chunk of hummus there. Now, the thing is that if you buy hummus from the shop, obviously it's got other preservatives, other additives in it. This way, you know exactly what's gone in it. And look how much you can get out of what we use. I'll scrape the rest of that out in a little while. Don't let that go to waste. So use all of it. And then if you just get a bit of tissue, just to sort of clean up around the side of the plate a little bit. Now, this is where we can just make it look a little bit more appetizing and appealing. So if you just get a spoon, so this is a little technique. So if you get a spoon and just use the back of the spoon and just use it to gently push the hummus. I'm turning the plate at the same time as pushing my spoon. And what I'm doing is I'm creating a little bit of a well in the middle of the plate. Okay. Like so. And then what we're going to do is we're going to finish it off with the other bits that are in the recipe. So we're going to use some extra virgin olive oil. I'm using this beautiful organic extra virgin olive oil from Zaytoon. So you can just drizzle that over. Like so. And then a bit of fresh black leaf parsley can go into the top there as well. Now you can finely chop it, or you can just use the leaves and just break them up gently, however you prefer. Like so. Adds a lovely little bit of colour. And then finally, beautiful spice, sumac, which is a really nice spice made from berries. It's got a bit of tartness to it. It's a lovely flavour. But what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of that and just sprinkle it around the edges of the bowl, just to flavour that hummus and also to make it look a bit more visually appealing. And you can add in some chickpeas if you wish. So that's that. So that is your homemade hummus. That looks fantastic. Looks really appealing. Try it. Let me know what you think for the flavour. If anyone's produced theirs already, I'd love to see how it's looking. So you can show it to the camera without dropping it all over the, hopefully. Muga, that looks great. Really good job. Really pretty. I can see the parsley leaves there. Again, Mike's screen I can see looks wonderful. JP, that looks great. Great job. Wonderful. So let's put that to one side. Okay, so what we're going to do now then, everyone, is we're just going to finish off with the tabbouleh, and then we'll get on to frying the falafels. So if you just get a bowl that you can, medium-sized bowl, I would say. And you can see that you've got the tabbouleh and the bulgur wheat now, which is really nicely cooked. All that water has been absorbed. So we can pop that into the bowl. All of it goes in. You can hold some back for later if you wish, for tomorrow, and have it with something else. So let's just get that all in there for now. There we go. Right, so that's all going in there. I might need a bigger bowl than that, actually, because a lot of ingredients going in here. And now this is just a case of assembling everything together. So we've got the bulgur wheat in there. We need some lemon juice. So I'm just going to use the other half of the lemon juice that I used for the hummus. So that can go in. Squeeze that into there, and we're just starting to add some flavour now into our bulgur wheat. Okay. Let that all go in. And bulgur wheat is a great carrier of flavour. So the more flavour you can get into this, the better. All right, so that's gone in there. Okay. So now into this then, we're going to add some a garlic clove. which I've already kind of grated, and some spring onions as well, which I'd already finely chopped. So let's get those in there. So that's just 2 spring onions and a grated garlic clove. That goes in there as well. We're going to add half a teaspoon of salt to season this, like so, and a quarter of a teaspoon of ground coriander powder. I will recap this all again. Olive oil, again, just a couple of tablespoons can go in, and that's just going to lubricate that salad nicely. Now let's give that all a little bit of a mix to start off with. Like so. So it already looks very nice, but we've got a few more bits to add in, as we know. So I'm probably going to have to transfer this to a larger bowl because this isn't going to be large enough. And then what you'd like is some chopped tomatoes. So 2 to 3 medium tomatoes, just diced. A cucumber, diced as well. So probably about half a cucumber. That was quite a large cucumber. So the same quantity of tomato as cucumber. To be honest with tabbouleh, the finer you can chop it, the better. But as you can see, I've not gone crazy with it. So don't worry so much if you can't get it finer than that. And then you want to put in a good bunch of finely chopped flat leaf parsley or curly parsley. I've got a huge bunch of parsley here, so I'm not going to use 2 bunches. 1 bunch will be more than enough. That will go in. And then a handful of mint leaves. So that's everything that will go into a bowl. So let's just do all of that. I can't actually find a bowl now big enough, so I'll keep on moving everything from one bowl to the next. Okay. And this would be really flavoursome, really colourful, and again, a lovely accompaniment for what we're making. In goes the cucumber. In goes the tomato. Mint leaves, I'm just going to finely chop. So they're the mint leaves going in. And this is really the star of the show with the bulgur wheat, is the parsley. So we need loads and loads of parsley. So let's get that chopped up as well. And there we go, there's the parsley going in. Trying to get as much in there as I can. There's the parsley. And so that's everything now in the bowl. So let's now try and give that a nice mix. And that should be smelling really nice and fragrant now. Now, if you want to taste that, always try and taste it. If you want to adjust the seasoning a little bit, and put some more lemon in, or maybe a little bit more salt or a little bit more coriander. That's entirely up to you. So that is your tabbouleh also ready. There you go. That's what that should be looking like. All right, so let's just put that to one side as well. So that's 2 out of our 3 things done. So we've just bring the camera up here. So that's 2 out of our 3 things done. So we've done the hummus, we've done the tabbouleh, and obviously we know that we've got that falafel mixture waiting in the fridge, ready to be fried. So what I'm going to do is just do a bit of a clean down here, and then whilst everyone's just finishing off their tabbouleh, and then if you'd like to grab a small to medium size frying pan or a wok or a saucepan, we're now going to move on shortly to frying the falafel. All right, so you just need like a small to medium saucepan or a wok, something like that, and you'll need some oil. So if we can get those things together and ready, then we'll move on to this shortly. So if you just bear with me a couple of minutes, I'll be back with you ASAP.
If you wanted.
Right, you all still with me, everybody? Has everyone managed to get the hummus done, the tabbouleh done, and ready for the falafel? Give me a thumbs up if that's where you're at. Ish. Jade has got a question. Jade, go ahead. Oh, or is that you saying yes? I think that might be you saying yes. Okay, that's fine. Does anyone else have a question at all before we move on to the frying of the falafel?
I'm really sorry, I just got here. Is there something I can start on?
Oh, Joe, oh no, have you just got here?
I was on a practice ride for the big ride for Palestine, and
Oh,
got a bit
wow.
lost.
Oh, wow, good for you. Yeah, so...
But I can catch up another time, or...
Yeah, I think the best thing to do is if you... So the tabbouleh and the hummus is a little bit more straightforward. The falafel probably requires a little more explaining. So what might be better is if you watch this bit in terms of frying the falafel, then I'll send you the full method afterwards.
Brilliant.
Is that all right? Apologies, just to recap all of that.
No, don't you apologise. It's me and whoever was running this event.
That's all right. It's good to see you.
I'm in my Palestinian colours.
Yay, there we go. Excellent. Right, so what I was just about to do then is, so if I just show everybody, so in this pan here, if I can just turn this round. Can you see that, everyone? There we go. So in this pan here then, I'm going to add about, let's have a look, how much is it going to be? And I'm just using vegetable oil, so any kind of vegetable oil will do. So you want about a good couple of inches of oil. All right, so that's a good couple of inches of oil to fry the falafel in. There's no heat on, by the way, under here at the moment. I've not put any heat on. I'm just showing you how much oil I'm putting in. And here's a mixture that was resting in the fridge. Now, the best thing to do here is just to have a bowl of water to hand, just to wet your hands a little bit, and a plate or a bowl. And we're just going to make these falafel balls. Probably, if you'll take a teaspoon and do a heaped teaspoon of falafel, then that will probably be about the right size for the ball. Now, what I would say is that when you're mixing this, if it feels like it's too wet, if it's too wet, then you can add, and that's what you're looking for. If it's too wet, then you can add a little bit more gram flour, all right? If it's too dry, then you can add a little bit more water or lemon juice. And that's what we're looking for. So that's kind of size. And we're just going to, so kind of a heaped teaspoon of mixture, just being rolled together and then placed on the plate like so. Okay. And let's just do that. Let's do that until we've got about maybe 5 or 6 initially, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to overcrowd the pan. Sorry, the saucepan. Yeah. So we don't want really frying any more than maybe 5 or 6 at a time. I would say something like that. It just means that everything gets a chance to cook without overcrowding, and you can keep an eye on those as well, rather than having so many floating around in there. All right. Like so. And what we're looking for when these are fried, a nice brown exterior, probably 2 to 3 minutes, but we need to make sure it's at the right temperature. So I'm just going to do that for now. So let's pop the heat on under the pan, and we want a nice sort of medium heat, not too high, because we don't want this to be really hot, otherwise it'll burn the falafel. So I've got the heat on now under the pan, a medium to high heat, all right? The way we're going to test it, so when we feel like it's hot enough, we'll just drop in a tiny little bit of that mixture, and it should just start to fry and have that look of something that's going to be frying and getting nice brown exterior, all right? Specifically, probably something you're looking for somewhere between 170 and 180 degrees C. If you've got a thermometer, you can be a little bit more precise. And we're going to fry these for about 1 to 2 minutes or until golden brown. And it's good if you've got some kind of slotted spatula or something like that, or like a sieve with a handle to scoop those out of the oil. So you're draining some of the oil even before you take them out of the pan. And then a bit of tissue paper onto a plate. Okay. There we go. So I'm just preparing that to one side. Let's leave the mixture over here. So we're just going to let that heat up a little bit. As always with these things, when you're frying, the first few can just be a little bit tricky to get the temperature right. So don't worry when we do those if they're not perfect. You'll at least gauge the temperature of the oil and then be able to get the next ones right. So let's see what happens as we're doing that. Okay. So whilst that oil is just coming up to temperature then, let's just see how you've been getting on with the process so far. So let's come to Giovanna first. Giovanna, are you watching in today rather than cooking along?
Yes, because unfortunately, I cannot bring the internet to the kitchen. So I either watch or cook.
Oh, bless you.
So,
well, hopefully, like you say, you can access the recording afterwards, fingers crossed, and you're watching. I'm sure you're taking notes,
yeah,
your mental note.
I've been taking notes, but hummus is one of my staples at home. So you just a kind of recap for me
Oh,
as I
good. Well,
make it
you're a
two,
dab hand, it sounds like, then at hummus. You've made it many times before, so that's great.
3 times a week at least.
Wow, wow. So what's your favorite combination? Because I know everyone does different types of, there are different variations of hummus, or you just like the classic?
I like the classic, but I add sumac, and sometimes, if I have some pomegranate seeds, are quite nice.
Ooh.
Yeah, but basically I like the, because it's easy and quick to do the basic one.
Yes.
So I can whip it up for lunch quite easily, and I don't eat meat, so
Okay,
that's why I
so
make it so often. Yeah.
and it's good for protein as well, isn't it? No, that's fantastic. And hopefully, after people have tried it today, you've seen it's pretty straightforward. Once you get the idea and you've made it once or twice, then if you've got the ingredients, you've obviously got a jar of tahini paste now, which you might not use in any other way. So, try it again in the next maybe week or so and see how you get on.
Yeah, and it's completely different from the shop bought variety. Once you try the homemade one, you never buy it again.
Exactly right. Yeah, I totally agree. And you can adjust the flavoring yourself as well, and you know what's going in. So amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Giovanna. Well, hopefully you'll be able to show us how
Welcome.
it turns out next time.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone. So what I've just done there is I can hear the oil just kind of making noises in the background. So it's coming up to temperature. It's obviously not boiling. We don't want it to be really fiercely hot. And so I've just turned the heat down now, more of a low to medium heat, just to sort of manage that temperature a little bit. So it started off medium to high, just to get it nicely hot. It's now sort of a low to medium, just to sort of make sure that it's not too boiling hot. Now I've just dropped in a tiny little bit of the mixture, and it just kind of fell to the bottom and then it rose to the top quite quickly. All right. And so really that's what you're looking for. But I'm just going to give it a little bit longer before. Yeah, so I think just another couple of minutes. Because what you want is you don't want them just to sink to the bottom, because if the falafel balls sink to the bottom, basically what they're doing is that's a sign that they're just absorbing all that oil. Now you don't want them to soak up all the oil, because then this would be really soggy and greasy and full of fat. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for a mixture that will go in and then quite quickly bob to the top, and then be frying nice and golden brown. And if you've got like a slotted spatula kind of spoon like this, it's quite nice just to be able to move them around the pan, and keep turning them over, or you can use a tablespoon or something like that. So I'll show you in a second how it's looking. I know the camera's not on my pan just yet. Okay, so I feel like it needs a little bit hotter still. So we're just going to give it a little while longer. So actually a top tip is it's actually quite good if you've not got a slotted spoon like this. If you've got like a large tablespoon or a spoon that you can just almost like with a boiled egg. If you were to lower a boiled egg into a pan, you'd rest the egg on there and then you'd lower it into the water so you're not just dropping it to the bottom. It's quite a good way just to have a spoon like that you can just pop your falafel ball onto like so, and then lower it into the oil. All right, so I'm going to show you that in a minute. There's just a little bit longer with this oil here. Sorry, it can take a while sometimes to get this temperature right, but it needs to be right. Just bear with me. I'm just going to try one in a minute just to see how the oil's looking, and then I'll explain to you what sort of thing we're after here before we start putting everything in. I'm just trying out one, just bear with me. So really, they shouldn't take any more than a minute or two on kind of in total as you're rolling around the oil. So at the moment, in fact, I'll show you. Here we go. Look, I can show you this here. Just bear with me. So you see what I'm doing with this pan is I'm just moving this falafel one. I've only got one in here. I'm just moving it around the pan at the moment. And you can see it's not quite got a dark brown exterior to it. So it's taken a little while longer to fry than I would expect for it to be cooked quick enough. So it's not totally cool, that oil. But as you can see, that where that ball is, there's a lot of oil fizzing around it, which means that that's now a good temperature. So I'm just going to finish off this one, and then I'll put the others in alongside. So I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit. Has anyone tried putting any in yet? If anyone has, feel free to let me know how that's working.
I've got 6 in there.
How are they looking?
Well, they're not brown yet.
Okay. Are they fizzing like this one here is here?
Yeah, they are. They are fizzing, but it's taking a bit longer. I don't know if I made them too big.
Okay. So yes, as I was saying, it's always worth trying like a first batch or 1 or 2, just to make sure that the oil's the right temperature, and then it's easier to adjust it then for the others moving forwards. But that one now, so you can see that's really kept its shape well. If I just bring that over to the camera a little bit. So it's kept its shape well, but it probably didn't go brown as quick as I would have liked it. So I'm going to guess that I'm going to put it back in, and I'm going to guess that in the middle, that's probably still a little bit soft. So let me just try that, take that onto a piece of paper, and let's see how it's looking.
That's what's green. Then it gets brown. Okay.
Just going to pop that on there. Just grab a knife. In fact, I can just rip it apart, hopefully. So that's that one. So I've just kind of pulled it apart a little bit. And I don't know if you can see in the middle. So it looks really nicely cooked, more towards, I'll say, the 2/3 towards the edge. In the middle, it just looks a little bit raw. Now, it's not raw because obviously it's chickpeas and it's not meat and fish or anything like that. But it's not cooked evenly all the way through into the middle. But the oil now, I think, would be about the right temperature. So I'm going to add in now 2 or 3 more. That's better. Now you see when that went in, that fizz straight away. So to me, that's a much better temperature now. So let's put these in, these 3 in, and let's see how they turn out. And they shouldn't take longer than really kind of a couple of minutes for them to cook. So, and they should go nice and dark brown in that time. Keep them moving around the pan.
Yeah.
Actually, that first one doesn't taste bad at all.
Very nice.
Can you see how quickly these have gone brown? So that's not even been, it's been just like a minute. And they've already taken on a really nice brown colour. Now, don't worry if they look a little bit more irregular in shape or whatever. The main thing is that they should be nice and brown on the exterior and cooked all the way through. Let's give it another couple of minutes. Sorry, another minute or so. And then I'll put the last two in. Okay. So those are the other three that I've just taken out. So can you see they went a lot darker, a lot quicker? Can you see? They look a bit more uniform in colour. I'm going to pop these last two in as well. Okay, let's just put that down there. So now we're just waiting for, whilst we're just waiting for these two to finish. I'm not going to do all of these because obviously it'd be boring. You stood there watching me do all 18 or however many I get out of there. But you can see that we've got a couple of those that have come out really nicely. Well, all of them have really. That was the first one that looked a little bit like it cooked a bit longer than it should have done, but still tastes great. These three are the ones that were just done recently. I'm going to take these other two out, and then I'm going to then finish off by just showing you how to make the bowl, the poke bowl. So what I've got is a bowl, nice presentation bowl like so. We've got our hummus, we've got our tabbouleh, we've got our falafel shortly. You should also have sliced up and ready to go some cucumber, some red onion, some tomato, some radishes, any of the things you like really. You can also, in terms of the sauces, you could drizzle over some tahini, some sriracha, some yogurt. So whatever you fancy in terms of the sauces really to go on top, that's entirely up to you. So let's just give these a few more seconds. That's it, and they're done as well. So I'm now just going to turn the heat off under here, just for now. I'll come back to that in a minute. And I'm going to show you how to compile this. Okay, let's just move that out of the way. So can everyone see, let me just move that down a little bit more. Does everyone see this bowl okay? Yeah? So what I've done, just kind of one side, so I've just put in some tabbouleh, just squidge it to one side a little bit, just to create some space. I'm now going to get some of that hummus that we made. I'm just going to pop some of that on one side, like so. Okay. In this corner, then, I'm going to add some salad. So I'm going to add some sliced cucumber. And you can do this however you wish, really. This is where you can be really creative with what you're putting in there. I'm going to add some sliced tomatoes in there, look. Red onion always adds a really nice colour. So some red onion goes in. Red onion can be strong, so if you don't like it, you can leave it out. It's entirely up to you. And then something that I absolutely adore is radish. Radish is beautiful. I'm just using kind of red, sort of the small red radishes that you can get. And again, you can make that look pretty however you wish. I'm going to leave it to you guys to come up with some nicely decorative bowls. And maybe if you're on Instagram, drop me a picture of how yours is going to look. And then, of course, let's not forget those beautiful falafel bowl. And we just rest those in the corner, maybe using the tabbouleh or some of the hummus as a bit of a glue to keep them firm there. A little bit more hummus in the middle. The final falafel ball look like so. Okay. And then if you've got any sprigs of parsley, look, you can pop that in there for a bit of colour. And there you have it. Falafel bowl. Beautiful homemade falafel, beautiful homemade hummus, your tabbouleh as well, which is hiding under there. That's a really, I'm going to say healthy, a bit dubious because obviously the falafel have been fried. But of course, we've drained that oil off. Everything else in there is full of nutrients. It's fresh, it's vibrant, it's got loads of flavour. Look at that. Muga's already showing hers how brilliant that looks. So if anyone wants to show us how it looks up to the screen, that would be amazing. I'm going to take a picture of that and I'll post that on Instagram later on. So you'll be able to see how it looks. I'd love to see your versions of it as well, everybody. So if you could, if you are on Instagram and you want to tag me in and show me how it looks, let me know how it tastes. It'd be brilliant to see that. This recording won't go on until tomorrow now, but I will do that plus the recipe tomorrow. If any of you want to try and make it this evening, apologies, because I'm going to be super busy this evening now after I finish off here. But if you want to just try and follow, the recipe is pretty straightforward to follow in terms of you're adding all the ingredients together for the tabbouleh. The only thing is if you just look on the back of the packet how to make the bulgur wheat, obviously I'm talking mostly to Joe here. If you look on the back of the packet how to make the bulgur wheat, everything else goes together, compile it. The hummus, again, everything goes into a blender and blitz it. And then the falafel, hopefully you caught the back end of that. But the mixture, again, is pretty straightforward. You just need to make sure that hopefully you've soaked your chickpeas overnight. If not, use fresh tinned chickpeas is absolutely fine. So
thank you. It's really kind of you.
No problem. So yes, I did see that my video wasn't highlighted anymore. Apologies. Hopefully, in fact, let me do that now. At least you can then see the finished product and how it's looking. Where are we here? Okay, there we go. So if I just put that camera down. So that's how that's looking, everybody. Hopefully that's a little bit clearer now. So you've got the falafel balls there sitting on top of the hummus, just in this corner here. You've got the tabbouleh under there. You've got your radishes, your cucumber, red onion, tomato. So that's really flavoursome, garnished with a bit of parsley. So hopefully you're going to enjoy that. Let me know what you think. I just want to say once more, thank you so much for joining in. It's been a pleasure to see you all as always. It's probably gonna be 2 or 3 weeks before I do the next one, but do look out for it on Instagram. Do keep spreading the word, and hopefully I'll see you on another cook along soon. But thank you very much, everyone. I'll see you soon.
Thanks a lot, and thank you for doing a veggie one.
No worries.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.